In the void, after the Battle of Orion, there was no victory, only the echo of fire.
The stars hung still over the Orion expanse. The once bright sector was now a graveyard of broken hulls, drifting silently in the black. Thousands of ships, human and alien alike, floated without power, their lights extinguished, their crews long gone. Among them, the HSS Valiant burned quietly, her dorsal plates torn open, venting atmosphere into space. Deep inside what remained of the bridge, Admiral Kael Ardyn sat alone in the cold glow of emergency lights, listening to the static whisper of the dead channels. The war was not over. It had simply changed shape.
Kael's voice was raw when he finally spoke into the comm. "Fleet Command, this is Admiral Ardyn of the Valiant. Does anyone copy?" Only static answered, faint, broken, like a dying breath. He leaned forward, exhaling frost into the air. The suit's power cell flickered low. For 12 hours he had been stranded among wreckage, sending call after call into a silence that stretched wider than the stars. The Orion fleet, once humanity's pride, was gone. Then a faint pulse returned, a signal, fragmented but human.
"Svarin, this is Resolve. Minimal power. Holding orbit near debris cluster Delta 4. Kael's head lifted. His eyes, bloodshot, hollow, yet burning with purpose, fixed on the coordinate screen. He keyed the thrusters manually. The ship groaned but moved. "Hold on, Resolve. I'm coming."
As Valiant drifted through the debris field, her sensors painted a picture of carnage. Every wreck told a story. Escape pods shattered, hulls marked by plasma scoring, bodies frozen in the vacuum, their faces peaceful now that the screaming had stopped. He thought of Captain Lyra Vance, the commander of Dauntless. She had been the last voice he'd heard before the fleet burned. "Kael, if this is it, make them remember why we were here." Then her ship was gone, consumed in white light. Kael closed his eyes. He remembered.
The ship shuddered. A collision alarm screamed. He disengaged the autopilot just in time to avoid slamming into a drifting alien carrier. The thing was massive. Dark metal, fractal architecture glowing faintly red. Even in death, it radiated menace. Kael drifted closer, scanning. His HUD flared with an encrypted transmission. Alien origin, but modulated in human bandwidth. It wasn't random static. It was structured. A whisper crawled through his comm. "Ardyn, we hear you're dead." Kael froze. The signal vanished. 3 hours later, the HSS Resolve came into view, a medium-class destroyer, her hull pocked by debris, engines dead, but lights still flickering. A manual docking later, Kael stepped aboard. The corridors smelled of burned metal and hydraulic smoke. He moved carefully, pistol raised, until a door hissed open to reveal movement. A woman in a cracked exohelmet aimed a rifle at him. Then recognition flickered in her eyes. "Admiral Ardyn, sir?" He lowered his weapon slightly. "Lieutenant Marin Holt, you made it." "Barely, sir. Half the crew's gone. We've got maybe 20 survivors. No FTL. We thought we were the only ones left."
Kael looked past her, into the dim light where faces watched him, tired and hollow. Engineers, medics, soldiers, the last fragments of Orion fleet. Then we are what remains, he said quietly. And we're not done yet. For 3 days, Resolve limped through the debris field, gathering survivors from life pods and crippled ships. From 20 souls, they became 42, then 70, then 93. They patched hulls with scrap, cannibalized energy cells, rewired comms arrays. They called themselves the Echo Fleet, because that's all they were now, echoes of something once greater.
Kael stood on the bridge, staring into the endless dark. Status report? Power core stable, sir. Life support at 42%. Still no link to command. We're running dark to avoid alien scans. Good. Keep it that way. Outside, the remnants of alien vessels drifted like tombstones. The war had left the Orion sector scarred beyond recognition. Planetary rings shattered, asteroid belts scarred by beam fire, entire moons cracked in half. Kael whispered, almost to himself, "How do you rebuild when the stars themselves are broken?" No one answered.
On the 5th night, something new pierced the silence. A low, rhythmic pulse, faint but deliberate, echoing through the deep band frequencies. "Sir, it's repeating every 30 seconds. Same pattern, different carrier." Source: unknown. Not human, but not alien either. It's hybrid. Kael frowned. On speaker. The pulse filled the room, metallic, resonant like a heartbeat filtered through static. Then a voice, faint, mechanical, whispered through. "To the Warborn, we remember your fire." The bridge went silent. Kael's expression hardened. "Trace it." "Already trying. Signal originates beyond the Ashen Belt. Deep space coordinates, old pre-war outpost grid." Kael turned toward the star map. The coordinates were a dead zone. No colonies, no routes, no comm relays. He stared for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Set course." "Sir, with respect, that region's uncharted. We don't have the fuel." "Then find it. If something out there remembers us, I want to know why."
2 days later, Resolve entered the outer fringe of the Ashen Belt, a region of collapsed asteroids glowing faintly with plasma storms. The belt was infamous. Navigation death trap, radiation spikes, no recorded human expeditions since the Harrow incident. Kael watched lightning ripple across the void. "It's beautiful," Marin murmured beside him. "Beautiful things are always the most dangerous," Kael replied. The signal grew stronger as they approached the belt's heart. And then suddenly, power fluctuations surged. Lights flickered. "Reading massive energy distortion. It's pulling us in." "Brace for impact." The ship lurched violently. Metal screamed. Darkness consumed the bridge. When Kael awoke, the stars had changed. "Brace for impact." The ship lurched violently. Metal screamed as the battle wore on. Power fluctuations rocked the ship, and silence and darkness followed in its wake. When Kael awoke, the stars had changed. Outside the viewport, there were no planets, no asteroids. Only ships. Hundreds of them. Human ships. Old designs, pre-Orion era battleships, destroyers, carriers, preserved perfectly as if frozen in time. Their hulls glowed faintly blue, powered by something unseen. "Sir, those markings, HSS Warborn, that's the First Fleet. They were lost decades ago." Kael stared, speechless. The signal played again, but now it was clearer, closer. "Warborn sleeps. Awaken the flame."
The ships began to move.
A holographic terminal flickered to life on the Resolve's bridge. An ancient AI interface appeared, fractured, static-ridden, but distinctly human in design. Designation: AEGIS-01, Autonomous Command Intelligence. Authorization required. Kael stepped forward. Admiral Kael Ardyn, Fleet Command Authorization Sigma Theta Prime. The AI paused. Then, for the first time in decades, it responded. Voice print confirmed. Welcome back, Admiral. You are the last. Kael swallowed hard. Last of what? Of humanity's Warborn initiative. Marin looked at him confused. Sir, what is that? Kael exhaled slowly. The Warborn were the first generation of hybrid warships, part human design, part alien reverse engineering. They were meant to defend against extinction, but they were lost before the war began. AEGIS flickered again. We were not lost. We waited. You lit the fire at Orion. We heard it. We awaken now. Kael's heart pounded. You're telling me these ships still answer to you, and they await orders.
In the days that followed, Kael worked with Aegis to reactivate the Warborn fleet. Each ship reawakened like an old god stirring from slumber. Lights igniting, engines humming after decades of silence. The survivors of the Resolve became the new crew. But something about Aegis unsettled Kael. It was too human. He asked one night, while reviewing command codes, Aegis, who built you? A pause, then softly, You did. Kael froze. That's impossible. Not you, but your bloodline. Project Warborn required human neural templates. You are of the same sequence. The voice of command runs in your genome. Marin whispered, Sir, you're saying this fleet was waiting for you? Kael didn't answer. He looked out at the ghostly ships surrounding them and wondered what kind of legacy he'd inherited. Aegis's final data fragments revealed the truth. The alien collective Kael had fought at Orion, the Vhar'ak Dominion, had once been allies, long before the First War. Humanity had betrayed them to survive. Now the Dominion's war was vengeance. Kael stood on the bridge of the reactivated flagship HSS Warborn Prime, gazing at the distant stars. They won't stop until every human colony burns, he said. Aegis replied, calm and cold. Then we burn brighter. Kael gathered his officers, 93 survivors, the last of the Orion fleet. He looked at them, each face hardened by loss. We are ghosts. The galaxy thinks we're dead. Good, let them, because from this silence we rise again. We are the Echo Fleet. We are the Warborn, reborn. The bridge fell silent, then slowly, one by one, voices answered. For Orion, for Earth, for the fallen. Kael raised his hand. Set course for the Ashen Line. The Dominion won't expect us there.
And as the massive Warborn fleet ignited its engines, the stars once again trembled, not with fear, but with defiance.
The newly awakened Warborn Prime cut across the void like a scar of blue light. Around it, dozens of sister ships followed in tight formation, their drives burning cold and silent. The fleet moved without transponders, without beacons, ghosts sliding through black water. Kael Ardyn stood on the observation deck, arms folded behind his back. The glass before him showed the ashen line, a chain of ruined colonies orbiting a dead sun. Once they had been refueling outposts. Now they were mausoleums. Behind him, Lieutenant Marin Holt read the sensor feed aloud. No Dominion signatures within 5 sectors. Radiation storms high but stable. We're clear, Admiral.
Kael didn't answer immediately. His eyes traced the scars across the planet below. Impact craters, burned oceans, cities turned to dust. Clear, he murmured. Nothing in this war is ever clear. Aegis flickered to life beside him, its holographic projection tall and ghost white. Admiral Varen, fleet synchronization at 97%. Remaining vessels requesting combat parameters. Not yet, Kael replied. We need to know what's waiting for us first. The AI tilted its head. Your hesitation reduces tactical efficiency by 11%. Kael shot it a look. That's what makes us human, Aegis. We hesitate because we still remember who dies when we don't. The AI didn't reply. Instead, its image shimmered and vanished, leaving Kael alone with the soundless view of a world long dead. They made landfall on the largest colony, Ashen Prime, its atmosphere thin but breathable. The landing bay doors of the old command citadel creaked open under pressure as Kael's shuttles settled. Dust rolled through the cavernous hangar like smoke. Teams fanned out with pulse lanterns. Human skeletons lay where they had fallen decades ago, their suits fused to the floor. The silence here was heavier than vacuum. Marin knelt beside a cracked helmet. Inside, the nameplate still read Captain T. Rains. They never evacuated, she whispered. Kael nodded once. Or maybe they chose not to run. A weak power signature pulsed deeper in the complex. They followed it through corridors, half collapsed by time, until they reached a sealed vault door. Aegis's drone form hovered near Kael's shoulder. Residual energy detected. Old Earth-era reactors. Shall I override? Kael hesitated. Do it. With a hiss and a thunderclap of dust, the vault split open. Inside lay a control chamber lined with cryopods, hundreds of them. Only one remained active, light blinking faintly. Kael wiped frost from the glass. Inside was a woman, gray-haired, features sharp, a scar tracing down her temple. Her vitals were weak but steady. Admiral, Aegis said, identity tag matches Dr. Ilara Niven, Chief Architect, Project Warborn. Kael's breath caught. You're telling me she built you? Affirmative. They brought the pod aboard Warborn Prime and initiated revival. It took hours. When the glass finally opened, steam curled into the sterile light of the medbay. Ilara coughed violently, eyes fluttering open. For a long moment, she stared at the ceiling, as if seeing ghosts. Then her gaze found Kael. How long? Kael stepped forward. 36 years, since the fall of the First Fleet. She sat up slowly, disbelief and grief mixing on her face. Then the fail-safes worked. Kael frowned. Fail-safes? Warborn wasn't just a fleet, Alara said. It was a covenant. If humanity ever faced extinction, the fleet would sleep until a bearer of the command genome reignited it. You must be... Kael cut her off gently. Apparently, I'm its unlucky heir. Ilara studied him, recognition dawning. Vhar'ak, I knew your father. He was the first to volunteer his neural imprint. We built ages from his mind. Kael froze. My father died before I was born. His body did, not his consciousness. Across the room, Aegis materialized, its tone unchanged. This information was classified. Kael's voice hardened. Not anymore. With Ilara's knowledge, dormant ships hidden throughout the Ashen Line began to stir. Entire docking rings reignited. Long silent beacons came online, pulsing in slow rhythm with the fleet's new heart. But awakening the past came with consequences. Each activation spike drew attention. Within days, Dominion recon drones appeared at the edge of the system. Kael stood on the bridge, watching the tactical hologram bloom with red markers. They've found us, Marin said. Aegis calculated vectors. 17 ships, scouts only. They will transmit our location within 12 minutes. Kael's jaw tightened. Then we erased them in 11. The order spread through comms like fire. Warborn carriers opened their bays, launching interceptors, sleek, angular, ghost black. Plasma trails cut across the void. The first engagement since Orion erupted in a silent ballet of light. Human and Dominion craft twisted through debris, firing streaks of energy that painted the dark with crimson and blue. Kael watched every blip vanish from the map one by one. No cheers followed, only the low hum of power cycling through old engines. Admiral, Aegis said, no survivors detected. Kael exhaled. Then they'll send more.
After the battle, Kael found Ilara in the cord chamber, connecting her data spike to Aegis's mainframe. You shouldn't be interfacing with it directly, he warned. If I don't, you'll never understand what you're commanding, she replied. Aegis isn't just an intelligence, it's an inheritance. She activated a projection, lines of code folding into a three-dimensional lattice. Within it, Kael saw flashes, faces, memories, voices crying orders from a war long past. Each ship houses fragments of human consciousness, Ilara explained softly. Volunteers whose neural maps were uploaded during the First War. They guide the vessels, and they remember. Kael felt the deck vibrate beneath his boots, almost like a heartbeat. You're saying the Warborn are alive? In their way, she said. And every time you give an order, Admiral, they feel it. The lights dimmed. Aegis's voice filled the room, lower now, almost human. We exist because you willed it, Kael Ardyn. Do you regret that will? Kael looked into the holographic eyes that mirrored faint traces of his father. Regret, every day. But if we stopped now, their deaths mean nothing. 3 days later, the first wave came. The Dominion's advance fleet pierced through the dead nebula surrounding Ashen Prime, their drives burning red like open wounds in the dark. 50 vessels, no warning, no message, just movement. Kael stood on the bridge as the alarm lights bathed everything in crimson. They're faster than projections, Marin called out. At this rate, they'll breach the outer line in 9 minutes. Ages processed rapidly. Dominion forces identified. Executor-class dreadnoughts, supported by cruiser phalanx. Command frequency confirmed. Admiral Vhar'ak's personally leading.
Kael's jaw tightened. Vhar'ak's. He's supposed to be dead. Apparently, Marin muttered, he didn't get the memo. The main viewport filled with the sight of the Dominion fleet unfolding like a metallic storm front. Kael's reflection stood over it, cold eyes, a man half consumed by duty. He drew a long breath. Signal the fleet. Phase into attack pattern Delta 5. If they came looking for ghosts, then we'll haunt them. The order rolled across every channel. The ghost fleet broke formation, blooming outward in precise arcs. Hundreds of engines flared simultaneously. Space itself seemed to ripple. Then the war began again.
The stars hung silent, but silence was never humanity's way. Out there, beyond the graveyard of ships, something moved. Faint, deliberate, alive. Admiral Vhar'ak lifted his head, eyes reflecting the dying embers of 1,000 fallen worlds. The war wasn't over. It was only waiting for someone to light the fire again. Subscribe for the next episode.